On this administration of the ADOS-2, Tessie received a total score of 24, which exceeded the cutoff of 12 for an autism classification. Her ADOS-2 comparison score was 9, indicating a high level of autism spectrum-related symptoms during this administration. I just got an email yesterday asking for permission to ask for a second therapist for Tessie. And I read the email and I almost fell over. No, I didn't literally almost fall over, but you probably could have knocked me over with a feather, because the idea of little tiny 2-year-old Tessie having 2 therapists working with her at a time just seemed like a lot. I mean, at the same time I understand, because OT and speech worked with her together at the same time. So, and it works very, very well having 2 therapists who are focused on her and who can direct her attention and who can work together to really focus her. But the idea of the insurance okaying 2 therapists to work with her every day, all day, from 8:30 to 4 at school, it's hard for me to imagine that that's a possibility. I just had to start out with that because I thought it was funny, interesting, a lot of things. I have Tessie's report today from the study that she was in a few weeks ago. I thought I was super organized and that I had Tessie's new speech report somewhere so that I could talk about it, and now I can't find it anywhere. So my computer's gonna have to do, because I did have it emailed to me also, so I have it here, and at least in my email I can't lose it. So we're just gonna be working from my computer today. Tessie was part of a study with the speech language pathology program at our local university, and afterwards they gave us a report that tells us the results of, not the results of the study, but the results of the evaluations they gave her, because for a lot of studies they will do evaluations, like they did an ADOS and they did some language evaluations on her. In the past, that information for us has been really, really valuable. Like, Tessie's speech therapist is really interested in seeing this report, so I'm going to take it with me and give it to her on Friday. So I'm going to skip over the background part where it talks about who Tessie is, that she's 2 years and 10 months old with a diagnosis of autism, and I'm going to go to the actual evaluation results part. So we'll start with behavioral observations. It was a delight to work with Tessie and her family. Overall, she was tolerant of the activities with which she was presented. Tessie occasionally sat at the table or on the floor and interacted with the examiner, but she often walked away from the activities to walk around the room or spin in circles. She was in a super spinny mood on the day of the evaluation. Tessie always loves to spin, but this day she was crazy about spinning. She was having so much fun spinning and like holding toys out away from her and spinning with toys, like the doll from the ADOS, instead of having a birthday party. Her social engagement and spontaneous spoken language was limited. She frequently placed objects in her mouth. She was observed to enjoy physical play, such as tickle games and jumping games. Preschool Language Scales 5th edition. The PLS-5 is a standardized, norm-referenced measure of receptive and expressive language. The PLS-5 assesses a variety of language-related skills, including vocabulary, grammar, social use of language, emergent literacy, and phonological awareness. On the auditory comprehensive scale, Tessie was reported by her mother to demonstrate functional, relational, and self-directed play at home. During the evaluation, Tessie identified familiar objects from a group of objects without gestural cues, e.g., give me the ball. Tessie was not observed to identify photographs of familiar objects, cookie, bird, shoe, follow commands with gestural cues, get the book and bring it here please, identify basic body parts, eyes, mouth, feet, or identify clothing items, shoes, shirt. On the expressive communication scale, Tessie was reported by her mother to demonstrate joint attention, use gestures and vocalizations to request objects, and use at least 5 words at home. During the evaluation, Tessie was observed to produce syllable strings with inflection similar to adult speech, use at least 1 word, and vocalize 2 different consonant sounds. Tessie was not observed to use appropriate eye contact, name objects in a photograph, e.g. ball, bird, balloon, or use words for a variety of pragmatic functions. She was just not even vaguely interested in the pictures they had there that day. The week before we went there, she was looking at a book here, and she actually pointed when I asked her to point to a fish, and she pointed directly to a whale. So I know she can point to things and identify things. I mean, whale, pretty close to fish. And when I pointed to a bird and said bird, she laughed for like 10 minutes. She thought it was the funniest thing in the world. But when they had the test books, she would not look at them at all. She was just not even into playing test that day. She was way more into spinning and having fun. Tessie's score on the PLS-5 are presented before. Auditory comprehension, raw score 20. Growth scale value 335, standard score 58, percentile rank 1%, the first percentile. Expressive communication, raw score 21, growth scale value 314, standard score 67, percentile rank 1. Total language, and it says 2 dashes, growth scale value 2 dashes, standard score 60, percentile rank. And again, we're going for the first percentile. Raw scores represent the number of items correct. Growth scale values are raw scores transformed to an equal interval scale. Standard scores represent the child's performance relative to their same age peers. Standard scores on the PLS-5 have a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 15. Scores between 85 and 115 are considered to fall in the average range. And the percentile ranks represent the percentage of children in the normative sample who have received the same standard score or lower. So we got first percentile across the board there. Tessie's auditory, comprehensive, and expressive communication standard scores both fell below more than 2 standard deviations below the mean compared to children her age, indicating a severe delay in both receptive and expressive language skills. Mullen scales of early learning. I definitely agree with the expressive part. The receptive part, she definitely wasn't showing that she has receptive language, but I'm not sure how accurate that actually is, because she pretty regularly shows that she understands what we're saying. She laughs when funny things are said. She will hear her brothers get in trouble and she'll smile. She definitely, I think, understands more than the test shows. Okay, Mullen scales of early learning, visual receptive scale. Tessie was given the visual receptive scale of the Mullen scales of early learning to assess her nonverbal problem-solving skills. Visual reception tasks including matching objects and pictures, completing puzzles, and remembering object locations. Tessie was observed to nest the nesting cups, match objects without naming, and discriminate forms on a form board. She was not observed to sort objects by category, spoons and blocks, match by shape, or match pictures by pointing. I know she can do the first 2 of those, but she was not going to do them when we were doing them all in. So, as a result of her non-cooperation during it, which is fine, I mean, this is, yeah. Visual reception, raw score 25, T-score 20, percentile rank, again, 1. Raw scores represent the number of items correct. T-scores represent the child's performance relative to their same age peers. T-scores on the Mullen visual reception have a mean of 50 and a standard deviation of 10. Scores between 40 and 60 are considered to fall in the average range. Percentile rankings represent the percentage of children in the normative sample who receive the same T-score or lower. Tessie's T-score of 20 on the visual receptive scale was 3 standard deviations below the mean compared to children her age, indicating a delay in her nonverbal problem-solving skills. Which, again, the kid puts together puzzles really, really well. She figures out how things fit into other things all the time, so I'm not sure how accurate that was and how much it was just she didn't feel like doing it. Okay, now for the ADOS 2. Tessie received a Module 1, which is designed for children who are 31 months or older and who do not consistently use speech. Module 1 includes opportunities for free play, snack, and play routines such as blowing up and releasing a balloon, which, by the way, Tessie is terrified of. It's the only part of the bit she doesn't like. She hates it when people let go of a balloon that's blown up. Having a birthday party for a doll and playing with bubbles. Tessie demonstrated inconsistent engagement in the ADOS-2 activities. She was observed to be somewhat overactive in the sense that she continuously moved around the room and spun in circles. She did not demonstrate any behaviors associated with aggression or anxiety. During the ADOS-2, Tessie produced limited spoken language. She was observed to say yay and set go, like ready, set, go, to request, and she produced the f sound several times. Tessie requested the bubbles and rocket activities by saying set and go. She integrated eye contact and with a spoken word, set go or set go, to request 2 times during the rocket activity. She was observed to initiate some social engagement with her mother, including laying on her mother's lap for comfort. Tessie rarely initiated social engagement with the examiner, and her social response to the examiner's attempts to engage her was limited. Tessie appeared to enjoy several ADOS-2 activities, including the bubbles and the rocket, but she did not clearly share this enjoyment with another person. Tessie demonstrated cause and effect play, e.g. pushing buttons on the musical animal toy, opening the pop-up toy, but she did not demonstrate functional or imaginative play. I'd say at home we kind of do see imaginative play in her love of dressing up and dancing around, though. So I don't think that's totally a reflection of how much imaginative play she has. Tessie's eye contact was inconsistent and not well modulated with her vocalizations and gestures. She was seldom observed to give or show objects to other people and was not observed to use any gestures during the ADOS-2 administration. That's true. I don't think she's ever given me a toy or showed me a toy, ever. She was observed to show close visual examination of objects while spinning around. She showed some repetitive play, such as pushing the buttons on the phone and rubbing the rocket toy on the floor. On this administration of the ADOS-2, Tessie received a total score of 24, which exceeded the cutoff of 12 for an autism classification. Her ADOS-2 comparison score was 9, indicating a high level of autism spectrum-related symptoms during this administration. These findings are consistent with her existing diagnosis of ASD. Summary. Tessie is a 2-year, 10-month female who was seen for an evaluation as part of a research study in the lab. Her performance on the PLS-5 and Mullen Visual Receptive Scale indicate delays in receptive and expressive language and nonverbal problem solving. Tessie's total score on the ADOS-2 exceeded the cutoff for the classification of autism, which is consistent with her existing diagnosis of ASD. She'll continue to benefit from her intervention supports provided by the Institute early on and CMH. Her emerging vocabulary and her emerging ability to integrate eye contact with other communicative behaviors will provide a strong foundation for the continued development of her spontaneous communication skills. In addition, she'll continue to benefit from the strong support of her family. It was a pleasure to meet with Tessie. Anyways, so none of that was really surprising. As I've said before in other videos where we've gotten results, I think it's really important not to get caught up in the numbers because they a lot of times don't really reflect what our kids can do. They reflect, like that reflects Tessie in a given moment. Not so much the expressive language. Like, yes, she has a huge expressive language delay. I know that. Anyone who spends 10 minutes with her knows that. She does. She can't talk. Her language delay is, I think at this point, more than Maggie's was at the same age, because Maggie had more words by this age than Tessie has right now. But in other ways, Tessie does seem to have other things that were harder for Maggie at this age seem to be easier for Tessie. So it's not like I can really even compare them. And I mean, I know I shouldn't compare them. So Paul and I were talking about it last night because I said, you know, Maggie had more words right now. And he said she did, because in so many ways, things seem so much easier for Tessie than they were for Maggie, that it's hard to think that words are harder for her, I think. At least that's how it is for me. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around words being harder for Tessie, or words being less, there being less words for Tessie. Because it seems like she should have more words because everything else seems so much easier for her. At least the way she deals with life seems easier. Life at this point just seems a lot more stressful for Maggie than it does for Tessie. And I'm not sure if that's because we have been through so much more training that we're able to make things easier for Tessie than we were for Maggie, or if it's Tessie's personality, or if it's a combination of both of those things. I don't really know. But I do know that the expressive language probably is pretty accurate. I think the receptive language and that the visual skills less accurate. It's definitely a snapshot of that moment, and it's always something to keep in mind. Anyways, that is the report. That's it for today. If you like this video, we'd love it if you'd give it a thumbs up, and if you're interested in all things autism, we'd love it if you'd hit subscribe. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.